Hey guys, hope you're well. And in this video, I want to talk about three very important things that will actually help you manifest a lot faster and way more importantly, will help you keep your mental peace while you are focusing on this manifestation journey. These three tips can be slightly hard. I'm just telling this to you in advance, but that does not mean that they will not be effective. One thing that is very important to see is that as a community, we need to be open about the fact that some things might be slightly difficult. That if it is being slightly difficult, that does not necessarily mean it's wrong. It just sometimes means it is a part of the process. So let's directly get into these three things. We will go into this step by step. I will also give you some examples of how you might be doing this. And I will just give you some situations in which a hypothetical example of how a person might be doing this. And if you are doing the same, then you can stop for yourself. So the first one thing that will actually help you manifest a lot faster is if you stop generalizing things. So let's understand what generalizing something means to begin with. Generalizing something means that we put things in a general perspective, that we group things and we make a general perspective of them. More often than not, that is not helpful, and what it does is that it creates a negative perception of a whole group for us. Let's understand this with the help of an example, and then I will give you a client experience in which one of my client experienced this, and then the advice that I gave them. So for example, let's say I decide to now start to date, right? Let's say I'm a single individual and I decide that I want to date. So the first date that I go out on, the woman that I meet is actually not respectful to me. So in my mind, the first thought that starts to pop up is that, oh, women in dates or women that I meet from dating sites may not be respectful, right? Then I go out on a second date and I see a similar experience. So this belief that I had in my mind gets solidified that, oh, women in my life who I meet through dating apps are actually not respectful. I go on a third date and the date goes okay, but I don't actually have a connection with the person. So we don't end up moving forward. On the fourth date I go, the person is actually not disrespectful. But by this time, this person does something which is actually very normal, but because I have already created this perception in my mind that women from dating apps might not be the best or might not treat me right, I will start to assume that this is one of those places where she's not treating me right. When I will do that, what will end up happening is my general perception will become that people I meet from the dating app are not actually cool, or with them, my situation won't work out. It's fine if this perception was positive. But when this perception becomes negative, what will happen is I am just blocking this one path through which I can meet a person. When I'm blocking that one path, what is happening is that on an unconscious level, I am creating this belief for myself, which will apply to all people I meet from there. So it will just become a futile attempt for me and it will not really give me any benefits. This does not mean that when those two experiences happened, that they were not bad experiences. I don't have to disregard those experiences. It also doesn't mean that people on dating apps cannot be uncool or that I cannot have bad experiences on dating apps. It just means that it's not about the dating apps to begin with. It is a different situation which is based on person to person and my situation's there. It won't help me if I keep on generalizing these experiences and make a general perspective, because if moving forward, this was the way through which if this would have been my possible how and my bridge of events would have been something that goes through this, then it would just block itself. That is something we want to avoid. I will explain one thing that happened with one of my clients and how you can also work on this the same way that she did. So this girl, she was my client, and she went through this experience that she met. This was the first time that she dated anyone, and she dated these two guys from dating apps, and both were not offering her any commitment and were quite disrespectful to her. This actually created this perception for her that all men that I will meet, not just from dating apps, but in any romantic capacity, will not treat me right. Now, let's say she has 5 friends, right? And she talks to 5 of those. Let's say 2 of those are in a healthy relationship, 2 of those are not, and 1 is actually single. Because this is her perspective that she had made, she was connecting more with these 2 women who actually had bad experiences or who did not get connected with someone or who were showcasing this to her that men are actually disrespectful. And she was also connecting more towards the single individual who did not actually had dating experiences which were good to begin with. Because of this, her perception was only solidifying. Now, if she was actually open to the idea that this might not be something general that I need to create, this could have been better, because then she could have connected more with the other women with whom things were okay, right? But this is how our mind picks out things that we want to believe in just to prove our belief right, and this isn't something that really helps us. So avoiding this would be really really helpful. Coming to the second one, this is going to be something that you guys will love. Don't allow yourself to make decisions while you are super emotional. Let's understand this in detail. So, we are humans, right? And humans have a capacity to feel emotions, which means that there are a range of emotions from good to bad. You must have seen that chart that has all these emotions. It's called the map of consciousness, where there are all these emotions and there is a number written in front of it that this emotion is this level, this emotion is this level. Which means if you're a human being, at some point in your life, you will feel all those emotions, right? What happens is sometimes, because we misunderstand the concept of manifestation, that we assume that emotions are bad. So when we have a negative feeling or a negative emotion, we start to react to it. But as a human, you will feel all emotions. Ask your favorite manifestation coach or someone who tells you that you shouldn't feel these emotions, or you shouldn't feel bad at all, or that you should be positive all the time, that what will I do if my pet dies? Should I be positive? No. Should I never have any negative emotions? No. Because you are supposed to go through the spectrum of emotions. What they do mean, and what is more helpful, is to actually learn to regulate these emotions and not mentally dwell on them, right? Another thing that is super important is to not make decisions while you are emotional. Because while we are making decisions when we are emotional, we are not going to make the best decisions. You must have heard the statement previously in life at some point that never make a promise when you're happy, and I think it was never decide something when you're angry, something like that. This is actually a very good example to see this, because the reason why people tell why this saying was there, that you should not make any decisions while you are happy or angry, is because when you are in that state, you are not thinking clearly. You are taking decisions not from logic and what you want, but just from what the emotion tells you to do. We have all been angry at some point, and when we are angry, we just want to curse at the other person, we just want to scream, we just want to tell them something or put them down. But it isn't really something that helps, and a lot of times we are able to calm ourselves down, and we later realize that, oh, I shouldn't have said this, or that I shouldn't have went through that direction. This is something that a lot of times we do in the manifestation journey. So as I mentioned previously, that you will have emotions, and which is fine. What also happens is, let's say I know that after every 15 days I have a tendency to react, or I have a tendency to get emotional. Or one of my clients, a woman, she told me that, and this is a common experience with women, that when you are closer to your cycle, you do have a tendency to react, right? It's very normal, happens with a lot of people. Now, she told me this beautiful thing. She said that I know that on those days I will have a tendency to react. So on those days, I make sure that I will not make any decisions at all, because I know that any decision that I will make will actually not be great for me. It's a very common thing that people do. When we are in that angry state, or when we are in that emotional state, we take decisions. If I already know, and this is something that I will have to fix my expectation for, if I already know that after every 10 days I will have a tendency to feel emotional, then I can also not make decisions there. I will explain this to you with the help of an example. I had one client, and she had a pretty bad experience when it comes to relationships. So here she was trying to get out of that, and she was trying to manifest a relationship in general in her life. Now what happened is, she knew that after every 15 days I have a tendency to go back and forth with my emotions, right? But while she was in that situation, and even though she had the tools, when those 15 days used to happen, she used to get very emotionally volatile, and she used to just feel frustrated and give up, right? Now in this moment, when this person is planning to give up, or when they are trying to say that, that this is not working out for me, this is going in a bad direction, no one understands me, my life is this, my life is that, everything is unfair, which is true in her experience. So her emotions are totally valid. Like what she is feeling in that moment, that frustration, that feeling of resentment, that feeling of hurt, it's totally valid. It's totally fine that she feels that way. There is nothing wrong with her feeling state. It's when I know that these emotions will come up. So after 15 days, I know that this emotion will come up where I will feel like giving up everything. I can avoid making a decision then, because I know that 2 days later, I wouldn't feel the same. 2 days later, I would still know that I still do want to work on this, and I still do want to get out of this. So going in that direction of making a decision then wouldn't truly help me, right? In this situation is when our decision making process is important. Now, In that moment, it can just feel that my emotions are very overwhelming, but it does not mean that you cannot feel them and that you cannot feel bad. It just means you don't have to decide anything then. Avoiding that decision is very important. The third one, and this is something I absolutely love, it's to separate your tasks. Now, let's understand something. We all have a task, right? In any relationship that you are in, romantically, friendship, professional relationships. Right now, me and you, we have a relationship, right? I am someone who's trying to teach you this fun topic and you are trying to learn this, right? So we do have a relationship in this. Now we all have separate tasks. So I have a task that, and that is my responsibility to you, that on every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, I make a video and I upload it for you guys, right? After that, that is where my task ends. Now, after that, if you open your time, you get your time, you watch the video, you make your notes and you apply it. That's your task, right? I cannot do your task for you because no one can be the best you. Just like you can be good at something, you can be better at something than me, but you cannot be Karan. You cannot be me, right? And you cannot do my tasks. Similarly, I cannot do your tasks. And this is something that as I have went into my coaching journey, something I have developed, that I cannot do things for my clients. I can only advise them. And sometimes it's very painful, when you see someone and when you know that they have a lot of potential, but they are not applying things. It is hurtful. But in that moment, I cannot force them to change, right? Similarly, you have a relationship with your subconscious. Now, your task is to focus on what you want, make sure your beliefs are in line, make sure that you're taking the best decisions, and let go. Your subconscious's job or source or universe or whatever you want to call it, its job is to make sure that they take care of the how, make sure that they have the bridge of events which is the most natural for you, or to give you your manifestation. What the issue becomes is that in that moment we try to do the subconscious's job, which means we try to be in a position where we constantly try to push the how, where we constantly try to manipulate it, we control it, and we are not actually practicing separation of tasks. It doesn't do anything because we cannot do the job of the subconscious or the source or the universe or God. We can just pretend that we are. So it gives us this false sense of comfort and control. But as a whole, it does not let the subconscious do its job, which is why we aren't able to surrender, because we don't have faith and we end up keep on being in the same cycle. So do your task and separate your task from what the other person's task is. You can use this in any area of your life. I really hope that this video helps you and that this gives you some sort of comfort and hope. And I will see you guys in the next one.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe and share if you liked the video. The link for my one-on-one coaching, my self-help courses, and my free newsletter are in the description box below.